Hi guys, Wayne's Butler here. Yes, you're going to see the Batman. It's going to be at the end of this video. I'm going to be doing a slideshow. There's no sense me, setting it all up here and give you kind of a blurry thing. So I want to save the best to last, guys. So just bear with me on this half of the video. But I first want to start by giving a shout out to the cashier at the Home Depot. She seen my hat today and she started asking me about Batman. Apparently she's just as big a fan as I am. Apparently she has a tattoo, but respectfully, she didn't tell me where it was. So we started chatting it up a little bit. I told her about my YouTube channel, so she said she's going to be, checking my videos out. So shout out to you. And the other thing too, my comment section. I noticed that when I leave comments, it doesn't always show who I've replied to. So I'm a little concerned that some of you guys out there might think I'm not, responding to my comments, and it's really important for me anyways, that I do that. So if you haven't got any responses back, it's probably there, but it's just YouTube. I don't know what the hell's going on, but anyways, let's get into it here. We'll start by talking about how I put this thing together. I usually get a lot of PMs after I do these bases, and talking about how I did things and certain techniques. So I thought, well, geez, maybe I'll just do like a little bit of a talking thing to try and explain what I did before we get into the slideshow. But anyways, as you can see in the slideshow vid, that everything's made out of wood. 1/8 dowel here, 1/2 inch dowel, 1/2 inch square stock. Bought everything at Home Depot. Started last weekend. And just basically the way the slideshow vid shows, just everything's glued together. The only thing I didn't buy at Home Depot were the rivets. I usually use jewels. You get them at Michael's. And then the Batman here, I cast out of that mold that I was showing you in my last vid, and put that on. But as far as this rust technique, how I normally do it, and it's usually kind of a shoot into the wind and see what kind of happens, and that's kind of how I started here. And normally I just put everything together as you've seen in the video, and I usually just I started with a flat steel base, primer, and paint all in one. Everything's from Home Depot. Sprayed it all that like more or less a dark gray, and then with the same dark gray and another can of espresso brown, I just kind of alternated back and forth. Now the espresso brown, you just squeeze the trigger just a little bit so it spits. So let it spit brown all over it a little bit, and kind of get a technique there, and then you can start to see the rust kind of start. And then I come in with a third layer of actual rust paint, like it's Model Masters or whatever. I kind of just did a dry brushing all over the base. And then I touched it up with a little bit more brown, here and there. They kind of really get the rust to, really look realistic. And it actually did, but it got to the point where, I had to pull it back a little bit. And that's actually what brings the effect to life, is I actually put the steel effect on last, not first. And then try and not cover it up kind of thing. So then I just go in with the dry brush, and I went over, like you could see in the slideshow vid, and just dry brush all the silver on here and on some of the high spots and stuff like that. Oh, this girl here, I didn't talk about that. This girl is just, if you guys have a lowered ceiling in your house and you look up, you may actually see it. It's just grid pattern. Now, when I do these bases or my dioramas, they're not always movie accurate, especially the bases, because I'm limited to what materials I can buy. I basically build my dioramas with materials that you either find in the garbage or you can get at your local home improvement store. So I don't really get into, really super detailing things so it's absolutely movie accurate. I leave all that up to the figure. As long as the figure's shining, as long as the diorama roughly represents, what it's supposed to do, it usually, it'll usually work, usually. Now the only other thing that I was thinking about doing, now I may or may not do it, when I was originally thinking about doing this, because this is the scene where Catwoman slides this door down, Batman turns, and the whole Bane fight starts. I was actually going to put a picture of Catwoman back here. Now, I was looking at him thinking, well, see, the thing with when you do stuff like that, guys, when you introduce one-dimensional things into a three-dimensional world, things can start looking a little contrived. So to have just a one-dimensional image of Catwoman on the back, I'm thinking it may draw your eye off the figure, which is what you don't want to do. So that's still something that I'm thinking about. I might actually try it, but unfortunately I don't have a Catwoman, because you need to pose it in exactly the same pose and light it up right. So I might be experimenting with that in the future, but I may or may not even do it, because I really don't think it'll look good. But I think, you know, the diorama looks good just the way it is. And I actually got the lighting in it. I use a compact fluorescent. Got your standard wall wart. I needed something that I could plug in. I want to be able to turn this on and off remotely, or from outside of the showcase. I don't want to have to, keep going inside. Actually, when I was at Home Depot today, I actually bought some of this chain. Now, I was going to hang some of the chain from the side here and stuff, and weather it. I started looking at it, and see, the danger with this diorama, and why I was really kind of cautious before I did it, was these railings. Because this showcase is kind of small, I don't want to choke everything off and disturb sight lines. Now, the railings themselves are already going to be interfering with sight lines as it is, but I mean, straight on, I think this diorama is really going to shine. But so that's the issue. If I start hanging chains around, then it's really going to block the view of the Batman, basically, and that's kind of what you don't want. If the diorama was bigger, you can get away with stuff like that. So you have to make artistic choices, even though in your mind it looks like it may work. And finally, if any of you guys have been following my whole diorama with this, I know a number of videos ago I talked about what I was going to do. I was actually going to do a motorized obelisk or cube, coming out of the base, and I could have done it. It was, no problem. I was, capable of doing it, but I started thinking about it and talking about room, because if I did that, because there's going to be a box below the diorama, holding the cube before it comes up, I'd have to build a table for it, and then I thought, then I'd have to use a crotch grabber, and I didn't want to use that, because you don't want the figure falling over when the cube's going up. And then I thought, well, in this house, how often am I going to be lifting up, using it? So I'm thinking, yeah, it would have been a cool wow factor initially for for the YouTube community, I suppose, but I just thought all it would end up being is a box coming up out of the base. It would have been cool, but I think with this diorama here, I got a lot more eye candy, at least to me. So that's why I kind of turned left and kind of went this route. And plus, I had to meet certain parameters. I mean, I had to make a diorama that was 10 inches square, had a 2.5-inch lift, and was 24 inches high, total height. That's the inside dimension of the showcase. So with those dimensions, I had to think of something. And when I was watching the movie, when I seen this particular scene here, it slapped me in the face of going, holy shit, there you go. Because it's a narrow, the door is narrow and that gantry is narrow, so I'm thinking, I can do that. And I love doing rust, and what you see is what you get. So that's it for this diorama for now. You'll see in the slideshow, I'm going to be giving some pictures, and hopefully you enjoy them, and hopefully it shows the way you think this is going to look, because to be honest with you guys, I haven't even tried it yet. I've been wanting this paint to dry really, really good, because there's quite a bit of it on there. So I haven't even tried the Batman on here yet. So I'm going to be just as surprised as you. But if you're watching this video, it all turned out. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving to all, and Wayne's Butler signing off. Peace and love to all.